Hey, what's up, Crypto Army? I'm Travis, your crypto newbie, bringing you my experiences. You have to learn things the hard way. So I put out a poll a couple days ago and I asked, okay, what do you want me to cover? I'm curious to hear what your inputs are. And I put on the poll Wi-Fi, Safuu, something on the Ethereum network, a different blockchain, and then a presale. It was a pretty strong majority for presale, but it was pretty well divided as well. So I'm going to try to cover some of the other things that you are looking for on this channel. But today, let's go ahead and take a look at a presale. Now, this project launches tomorrow. So if you're interested in it, you definitely want to make sure you start your research as soon as possible because that presale is going to start off bright and early tomorrow morning. Now, here's the disclaimer. I'm not recommending that you buy this project. I'm not recommending that you don't buy this project. As always, I'm not a financial advisor and none of my content should be viewed as financial advice. Of the presales I've been looking at, this is one of the stronger. And it still has some of the issues that I would say you need to take a look at. It isn't a perfect candidate to buy at a presale, but it's got some pretty interesting characteristics that make it stand out. And if 2021 was the year of the meme and a lot of the swaps and exchanges and those kinds of projects, I would say 2022 is kind of shaping up to be the year of the rebase, at least so far. And this is a rebase project. Now, part of this video is going to be focused on explaining what I look at and some things that you might want to consider when you're looking at pre-sale projects. So I know a lot of you all want to get in on the projects early. Now, you can lose a lot of money doing pre-sales. There's no guarantee that it's not going to be a rug pull or a scam. And that's the caveat with this video. The project I'm going to show you, no guarantees that it's not a rug pull or a scam, or if it isn't a rug pull or a scam, that it's not going to fail miserably on launch. I was looking at a different project a week or two ago. It was also a rebase project. It didn't rug pull or scam, but it failed miserably on the launch. So just because things don't turn out to be a rug pull or a scam doesn't mean that it's going to be a successful launch. So I'm going to emphasize that significantly in this video. The same thing I did with Reflex when I started covering that one before the pre-sale. That was not a perfect project the first time I covered it. And this isn't either. And I don't think the issues that I found with the project are going to go away between today and tomorrow. I cannot emphasize this enough. You need to do your own research and understand the risk if you decide to invest in this project. And as always, never invest more money than you're willing to lose. I might invest in this project, but I'm going to invest realizing that I might lose my money. So if you don't like risk, this is probably not going to be the project for you. But with risk, there's big rewards. And for this one, that's a 900,000% APY. That's a pretty significant benefit for the risk that you're going to be willing to take if you invest in this project. So let's go ahead and jump right in to Yield Zilla. So what is my process for looking at pre-sales? First, I look at the website. It's very similar to my fundamental analysis, and I'm not going to do a fundamental analysis as part of this. Rebase projects, they don't always have a lot of fundamentals to begin with. It's really about that massive APY. Some of them actually have plans to do actual utility. Not all of them, and I didn't actually see a lot of utility with this one, but it's possible, and it does mention in here that they do plan on looking at utilities in the future. But that's something to be aware of. Now, you can go Google Yield Zilla and you're going to find information about it. There's other YouTubers that have covered this. I think pretty much all of that content is sponsored. So if you do go look for it, just realize most of that, all they're going to do is walk you through the website. I'm not going to walk you through the website. You can read. I'm going to draw your attention to a couple things on their website, and then I'm going to talk about some other things as well. Just be aware if you're looking on YouTube, most of the content that is on there is probably sponsored content. Now, I did see that some of them have a lot of followers, 130,000 followers for one, 50, 18,000. So there's a lot of people right now that are getting exposed to Yield Zilla, which does mean that there could be some pre-sale pressure to get in on this project. And that's the main thing I want to emphasize when I talk about the YouTube content that's out there, is it's getting a lot of exposure for Yield Zilla. And with a 900,000% APY, it's probably going to attract a lot of attention. Now let's go ahead and dig down through this website, and then I'll talk about some of the concerns I've got with this project as we go through. It does have a lot of positives, and obviously 900,000 APY is a pretty big positive, but there are some negatives as well. So here's that 916,000% APY. Now you're going to see out there, If you invest $1,000 with that number, by the end of the year, that's $9 million. That's just simple math. But they have to achieve 916,000% APY in order for you to get $9 million. So a lot of you are doing the math and thinking, well, how long is it for $1 million? Why be greedy, right? Because that was kind of the same thing I came across is, hey, why be greedy? But you still got to survive launch. And there's no guarantees with any project that it's going to survive launch. So just keep that in mind. Now, I do like the use of Yield Zilla. And when you're talking about APYs, it is hands down the largest APY I've seen on any project so far. 916,000 is a lot. Now, they achieved this by being a fork of Safuu and essentially increasing some of the fees to get there. A couple other aspects while we're talking about the contract. As a fork of Safuu, the team has identified that they fixed several of the issues that were identified during the Safuu's audit process. And this is an audited contract, and I'll show you that here in a little bit. And as always, with all my videos, all the links are going to be in the description of this video, so you can go check it out. They've got a pretty good link tree that really puts everything right on there. The only thing that wasn't on there is their KYC link, so I'll include that link as well to make it a little easier for you to find. But it's a BEP20, so if you don't want to do the Ethereum fees, that's the other benefit here is you're going to be on the BEP20 side of things, and it's going to have a lot of the exact same features that you found with Safuu. So if you're a Safuu investor, this project is probably up your alley. But again, the fees are a little bit higher, with 20% being one of them for the sale. Now, I've said this before, that's a pretty good deterrent to buying and selling is having a 20% fee. But if you're up to $1 million in revenue or return on your investment, you might be okay with the 20% fee at that point. I'm just saying. So maybe this will mitigate some of that. But I do know that a lot of the 20% fee projects are having a lot of problems. But it's hard to say if it's a 20% fee or if it's just the funky market that we're stuck in right now. There's not a lot of buying and selling happening, and the buying is typically happening on known good projects or blockchains like Ethereum and Bitcoin. A lot of people are buying into those projects right now, not necessarily a lot of the other altcoin projects or the newer projects that have been launched. So much like a lot of the rebasing projects that are out there, auto staking is there. So you buy, you hold, you keep it in your wallet, and it's staked. You're going to receive those rewards for holding onto it. And then you've got the Yield Zilla auto liquidity engine, which is really just a fancy way of saying that it's going to build liquidity in the contract, which is good. You need liquidity in order to do buying and selling. Now, one interesting aspect with their liquidity is it's going to be locked for 69 years. Now, it isn't currently locked, and when we take a look at the KYC process, they're going to point that out. And you kind of can't lock it yet because it hasn't even been put on the pink sale. So you're really, even though it's launching tomorrow, kind of early, because I can't show you pink sale where it's going to be launching to show you that aspect of it. But they do plan on locking it for 69 years. Again, these are some of those things you got to be looking out for if you're looking at this project. Let's keep going. Here's that comparison. So $1,000 gets you $9 million. Now again, that's perfect conditions, so we'll have to kind of watch and see. But everybody that's been buying Titano or Safuu or some of the other rebasing tokens out there have seen some pretty good returns, and the extra fees help get you to these high numbers. And let's keep jumping down here. They've got their roadmap. Now, as you can see, if you look at the roadmap in detail, there's not a lot on the roadmap except for growing the token after it's launched. And that's really the gist of it. It's not much else there. So definitely be aware of that. I'm always looking for some sort of utility beyond just buying it. But if you buy it and make millions of dollars, that's a pretty good reason to buy. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. Now, here's an interesting aspect is the Yield Zilla emergency savings. So every buy and sell puts money into this Yes Fund, essentially is what it's called, Yes Fund. And it counteracts some of the selling pressure. So as people sell, the Yes Fund kicks in to do a buyback and counteract some of that to try to keep the price stable is really my understanding of how this is going to work. Then you get the black hole. Now, I think a lot of us have seen the news on Safuu and Certic and some of the issues that the Safuu contract had. The black hole is essentially a burn wallet. Now, there's a rumor out there that the Safuu team can access their burn wallet. Well, if that's true, then it's not really a true burn wallet. The team for this project have said that they fixed that to the point where it is a legitimate burn wallet that they don't have access to. And that's really what the black hole is, which is kind of a good name for a burn wallet. And then you start getting into all the different questions. Now, as you can see, there is no team here mentioned. And nope, the team is not doxed, which is a big concern, right? I agree. It's a big concern. Now, they do have links to their Discord, their Twitter, their Telegram. And then if you click here, that's going to get you over to essentially their white paper, which is in the GitHub. Discord's got a lot of really good information on it, but so does their GitHub. So let's go ahead and jump into their GitHub right now and take a look at that. Now, I actually recommend taking a look at this. It's pretty good. And I actually have started to really like when they do this process versus a white paper. There are some benefits to a white paper, but the benefit here is if you speak a different language, you can use a Google Translate or some sort of a translation to translate this into your native language and better understand what they're trying to do. So I can kind of get on board with people doing it this way. This is a little bit better for appealing to people that don't necessarily speak English as their native language. But it's going to go through everything that we just kind of took a look at on the website. The main thing I want to focus on here is the pre-sale. So if we go to the pre-sale, now when I first looked at this, it was about 2 days ago. And 2 days ago, their pre-sale for the soft cap was 2,000 BNB. Yesterday, it went up to 4,000 BNB. I'm pretty sure it was yesterday because I'd seen some other people saying, hey, I thought it was 2,000. They said they must have read wrong. No, I'm pretty sure I saw 2,000 BNB too, but now it's 4,000. I'm not sure why they had to increase to 4,000 BNB. 4,000 BNB is a lot, but it's nowhere near the 8,000, which is their hard cap. Now, this is where I'm saying, yes, the pre-sale is starting tomorrow, but it might take a little bit of time to get to 4,000 BNB. But this is where all those YouTubers come in play. If they've got 130,000 followers and several thousand, maybe not even 10%, but several thousand people look at this, and of those several thousand people, even handfuls of people actually go look at this project, that could potentially eat up this 4,000 BNB pretty quick. I'm just saying, that's definitely possible. But here you can kind of see what the price is going to break down to. 1 BNB is going to be 24 of the YDZ token. Now, they're only going to have an initial supply of 325,000. So that's why you're getting such a limited number of tokens. But their max supply, again, rebase tokens, they do everything with the supply and the price, is 3 billion or 3.25 billion tokens. So just take that into consideration if you're looking at doing this project. But that's why you're starting at 24-ish YDZ for 1 BNB. Now, if we scroll down a little bit, you'll see here that the Pancake swap launch price is going to be $15, which is only a little bit more than what it's going to be at the pre-sale. So just keep that in mind. Now, anytime that you have an increase, there's always going to be a little bit of a sell-off. 20% fee is a pretty good reason not to sell off immediately on launch, but that's assuming that it stays at $15. If they were to actually hit 8,000 BNB on their pre-sale, it's possible that this amount here could go up a little bit. So that's always a possibility. A lot of weird things happen at pre-sale. So sometimes the price shoots up pretty quick. Sometimes the actual launch price changes. I've seen teams do all kinds of weird things depending on how popular the pre-sale goes. Now, the pre-sale is going to be a fair launch. There's no whitelist. You go to it, and you're going to be assured to get into it as long as it doesn't sell off. Now, what are the odds it's going to sell off with 8,000 BNB? I don't think this is going to be a quick pre-sale, so don't feel like you have to go buy tomorrow morning when it launches. I would recommend keeping an eye on it, see what's going to happen while you consider and do your own research. You've got time, so take advantage of the time that you've got. Now, there's no indication on if they hit over 4,000 BNB, are they going to immediately stop and launch the project? I don't have the answer to that. It hasn't necessarily been discussed. We'll see how fast the 4,000 BNB goes through. They might just launch as soon as they hit the soft cap. And all the indications I've seen looking at their Discord server is that their plan is, as soon as the pre-sale is done, is to launch the token. So it's going to be a pretty quick process. Now, the rebasing, from what the team has said, is not going to start until after they launch on Pancake Swap. Now, in the other project that I was looking at, it took weeks to get the 2000 BNB. But they also didn't have YouTubers that had hundreds of thousands of followers getting exposed to it. So they might go through this a little bit quicker than even I was thinking. Now, if we keep going down here, you'll see there's no team tokens. There's no extra mint. Here's where you can see that the team is going to have the liquidity lock for 69 years. Now, they've also indicated that there's not going to be a bot issue. There's always a bot issue, but it looks like they've planned at least to try to counteract most of the common bots. So hopefully that won't be a problem during the launch. So Audit Rate Tech did their audit. Now, if we scroll down, they did well. There's no real issues in it, which it kind of makes sense if it's a fork of Safuu and they corrected a lot of the issues that the Safuu contract had. It makes sense that you wouldn't necessarily see any issues. And as you can see here, there's none. There's no lows, there's no criticals, there's no highs. It passed everything. You really shouldn't have to worry too much about the contract. Most of the time when they do an audit before launch, they don't typically have contract related issues. All right, then we've got the KYC. So RugDoc did their KYC process. And as you can see, they've said some risk. Now, what does RugDoc do as part of their KYC? If this turns into a rug pull or a scam or anything like that happens, they will release the information for at least one member of the team. It looks like only 1 out of the 6 people has had the KYC process, as you can see here. They will release the information for that person if anything should happen to this project. Now, that's not quite the same as getting doxed, but it's pretty close. And what are the RugDoc's stats? You know, how successful or how poor have they done in the past? They've indicated that at least one project has had a rug pull or scam after doing this process, and they release all the information to the authorities so that that person or that team can be investigated. Again, it's still a crime to do a rug pull or a scam. The hard part is tracking down the team in order to hold them accountable. This increases my confidence in this project because I've gone through this process, but it's still not 100%. But I would say that in many ways, this is actually a little bit better than getting doxed, because a lot of times you can fake a doxing as well. How do you know the picture on the website is the person, or that the person is the name associated with the picture, or that that's the actual person? Unless they've actually gotten on Zoom or if they've done a Telegram video chat, there's never a guarantee. And a lot of times the team will abuse that also. They'll put the picture, they'll put the name on there. Maybe it's a real person and you can actually look at a LinkedIn and that kind of stuff. But it's not the actual person that's done the project. How do you know? How do you know that that's the actual person behind the project? You don't 100% know. In this case, they actually use a Zoom meeting to verify that the person on the paperwork is the person they're talking to. They go through that process. So the RugDoc is a fairly good middle ground when a team isn't doxed. Now, this is not my way of saying that this is going to be a successful launch or that there won't be a problem with it. This is just saying that this is a pretty good middle ground when a team hasn't doxed. And I can think of at least one project that I cover on my channel that I wish would do at least this process. I think it would increase the confidence in the project overall since the team isn't doxed. All right, so let's talk about some other things. All of their social media presence has been created in the last 5 or 6 days. All of it. Discord, Twitter, Telegram, everything has been in the last couple of days. That's a red flag for me. It usually takes a little bit of time to stand up a project, but they did a good job. But that also doesn't tell me that this couldn't be a rug pull or a scam, because maybe they're really good at standing up projects. Most of the rug pulls and scams that I've seen out there have a really poor designed website and poor designed social media. In this case, they did a pretty good job. They seem to put a lot of quality effort into it, which tells me that at the very least, the team is competent in what they're doing. But there have been rug pulls and scams from teams that did it that way as well. But most often when a team is just doing a rug pull or a scam to get some quick money, they don't go through this extra effort. And in this case, they did a pretty good job. Now, when you look at their socials, some of the things that I look for is, again, how long has it been there, especially on a pre-sale? And then what is the level of activity? Now, in the case of this project, I would say that most of what I've been seeing inside their Discord server suggests that maybe they've hired people to shill their project. When I start seeing a bunch of people talking about purchasing a max buy during the pre-sale, that's an indicator to me that they're there to shill and try to drive hype. Now, I'm not saying that they did that. That's just what it looks like, because I constantly see these people talking about doing a max purchase for this project. They might be legitimate, or it might just be people that were hired to shield their project, because that happens. But I saw a pretty good stream of that yesterday. Now, I did see in their Discord server, since I started looking at them, they've added about 1,000 people. Again, when you're advertising through YouTubers that have 130,000 plus followers, that tends to happen. You tend to get a little bit of a push in your Discord or your Telegram and drive those numbers up. I do think that their Twitter following was probably a little bit higher than I would have expected. Now, because they've got so many YouTubers that are putting the information out there, and there might be others, there might be people on Twitter as well, there might be people on TikTok. I don't know about all of the different social media platforms out there on how active they've been on trying to get this out there. But that could explain some of their high numbers also, is because if you have 130,000 followers, you might drive people to follow the project you're talking about. It's possible. So I don't know that they necessarily paid for numbers on Discord or Telegram or Twitter, but that also does happen. So those are some of the things I look for. Now, in the case of their Telegram, I didn't see a lot of activity. I think the Telegram said it was set up on the 17th or 18th, and I could see pretty much that entire history. So it's not very active, but most of what I did see was people joining in. But was it the number of people that they've got subscribed? I'm not sure, but their socials being set up in the last couple of days is one of those red flags that I look for. I typically want a project to have a little bit more presence just to drive up the adoption, because if they don't have good adoption and maybe they just paid for a bunch of people to subscribe, you might not see growth in the project. It might hover around a couple hundred investors. You might also see that the pre-sale takes forever. That's also a good indication that it was all hype and there wasn't really much push for it. I'm not sure what's going to happen. I have no idea. I know that the rebase projects are really popular right now. So if it survives the launch and they actually pull off the kinds of returns that they're advertising, this one could take off. And that's why I'm covering it on the channel, to give you the option to look at it and decide for yourself if this is a project you're interested in. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to get this video done today and make sure that you guys have a chance to take a look at it is the project is doing an AMA later tonight. So if you want to find more information, or if you have specific questions, that might be the best way to do that, is to jump on their AMA and ask those questions. Some of the questions I would have for the team is, why did they bump it up to 4,000 BNB when it was previously at 2,000 BNB? And what exactly the pre-sale is going to go into? Obviously, a lot of it's going to go into the liquidity pool, but I'm guessing a lot of the other BNB is going to go into the marketing. And I would suspect if most of the YouTubers out there are sponsored, I would assume that they have to pay off some of those initial debts from doing that. So those are kind of what I expect to hear responses to that question on what the pre-sale funds are going to go into. But 8,000 BNB is a lot. So the other question I would have based off of the pre-sale is, are they going to end it at 4,000 BNB, or are they going to wait until the 8,000 BNB, or are they going to kind of gauge the situation and end it early? Just because as an investor, if you're monitoring before you invest just to see if there's anything else that comes out about the project, you might not be in a hurry to invest. But if they're planning on launching as soon as they hit 4,000 BNB, depending on how slow that is, that's probably good information to be aware of, because as soon as they start getting close to 4,000 BNB, you might want to invest if you've been holding off until that point. And again, there isn't really a point in investing early in this project. If they were doing rebasing during the pre-sale, that would be a different story. There'd be a lot of drive to try to get in early, because you're going to be earning those rebase values the entire time that the pre-sale is going. But that's not the case with this project. Now, what are some other things I did as part of my review of this project? I did take a look at the RugDoc contract address, and I compared it to the audit, and they were the same address. So I'm fairly confident that that will be correct. But the other thing you would want to do is compare those addresses to the pink sale address, just to make sure that all the contract addresses match up. Sometimes you get an audit of a specific contract address, and it turns out not to be the one that they launch with. So you're going to want to make sure, if you do plan to invest into this during the pre-sale, that the pink sale address is the same address as everything else. I also did take a look at their Discord and their Telegram questions and what's been getting answered, and I asked a couple questions just to see how long it would take. Telegram took a little while to get a response, but I did get a pretty quick response in Discord on a couple different occasions. So they're at least responsive to questions. I even saw what would equate to FUD inside of their Telegram, and the person wasn't banned immediately. So there was some legitimate questions getting answered in there that could have been perceived as FUD without getting banned. which you don't always encounter that on a lot of projects. Now, there was also an indication that Crypto Atlas was going to be doing some sort of an AMA with a team. It hadn't been released at the time of recording this video, but Crypto Atlas might have done something out there on YouTube also, so you can check out that just to see how that went prior to getting in here. He usually does a pretty good job of asking good questions, depending on what kind of an AMA it is. If it's just more sponsored content, again, I do trust him. He's a pretty good YouTuber, but just keep that in mind. If it's sponsored content, that's always a factor to consider. What will be interesting is if he decides to do a follow-up video for Yield Zilla. That's usually how you can tell if a YouTuber really believes in a project, if he covers it more than just once. Especially if it's sponsored content. Now, that's pretty much everything for today's video. Hopefully you found the content helpful. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about Yield Zilla? Are you planning on dropping a little bit of money on their presale? Or are you planning on monitoring the presale and investing after the presale is done, provided it doesn't rug pull? That's a perfectly legitimate approach. Just keep in mind that sometimes the prices jump up pretty quick after launch. It's going to be no different than any other launch token out there, assuming it survives the launch process. Hopefully I've done a pretty good job of articulating the risk with this project, and that goes into your calculus on whether you want to invest in this project, because you really need to consider the risk and what your risk tolerance is. And that's always the case with a presale. Now, as a final consideration for this project, this is what their dashboard is supposed to look like. They've released this in Discord, so if you're curious, you can go check that out on their Discord. It looks like they're going to use Discord to provide a lot of updates as opposed to put it on their website, but this looks pretty good. I mean, I think it looks like it's going to be a pretty solid dashboard. Again, these aren't necessarily things you would see from a project that doesn't plan to be around for a while, because they don't have to do it. And that's kind of the thing with a lot of rug pulls. That's why you don't see a lot of effort put in, is they don't have any intentions of sticking around after the launch. Now, these aren't exactly hard to do as far as graphics, but it's an added detail that you don't always see. But there are some rug pulls and scams out there where you do see this level of involvement and preparation for a rug pull. So just be aware that this isn't a guarantee either, that it won't be a rug pull or a scam or some other issue doesn't happen with this project. Now, as far as the AMA, I don't think I'll be able to cover it tonight. I'm going to try to monitor, but I actually have something I have to do right around the same time as the AMA. But if I'm around and I make it back in time to record it, I will try to at least record it, if not do a live stream, so you can monitor it yourself as well. I'm really curious about what's going to happen with it as well. And the thing I've got to do tonight shouldn't take me a lot of time, but I haven't had to do it before, so it's kind of one of those unknown appointments where I'm not sure how long it's going to take or what's going to be involved in it. But if I can, I will try to cover it. Until next time, stay strong with those diamond hands.